Hi, ladies and gentlemen, Anthony Jordan here, and I'm joined by an author of not one, not two, but 3 books, ladies and gentlemen. They're all inspired from true life, and it's an honour right now to introduce Mr. Andrew Beckford.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, sir. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm actually good. Just coming from Jamaica, actually. Landed on Sunday, and it's just an experience that I really enjoyed, and which has actually made me wanting to talk about the books more and more, actually.
Fantastic. So, what inspired you to start writing in the first place?
Well, one of the things that inspired me was the fact that some of my life experiences were all in my head, and I wanted to get it out. And the best way to do that is to write. And you know, once I started to write some of the experiences I've gone through and others have gone through, it has made me feel a lot better. You know, it's like a closure. So that was part of the reason why I actually wrote, and to help others who have had certain experiences that some of them, they just don't have a voice, and you know, writing is where that voice comes from.
Perfect, fantastic. So let's start with A Boy's Cry. Was that your first book, is that correct?
Yes, okay. A Boy's Cry, definitely.
So tell us, A Boy's Cry, what's the story there?
Well, A Boy's Cry was actually inspired by some of the students that I've taught, because I'm actually a teacher, and myself as a child growing up and seeing certain things that some boys have gone through, and girls, but I focus on boys because a lot of the issues that were affecting boys were related to the fathers not being there, and how we could deal with it, how we could actually make it better for them. So I started to write the book, and I've realized that, of course, it was very helpful in many ways, shape and form.
So, seeing that inspiration that you're putting out there, what was the feedback like for that book?
Amazing. I've had people who have actually emailed me to say, you know, that book was my closure. I've had someone from London who said, actually, it's like the main character, you were speaking about me, and it really has helped some people to actually deal with issues that they thought were their issues only, and not understanding that, of course, others were having the same problems, and so that is one of the joy for me, really.
That's fantastic. And what I love about, I would call an artistic skill, whether it be writing, singing, is it crosses oceans. You know,
yes,
it reaches
it
people. For instance, you're based in Jamaica, and here we are. Someone in London is contacting you, saying how you've inspired them.
But I want to say I'm not particularly based in Jamaica, because I live in the UK.
Okay, sure.
But I travel to Jamaica sometimes, and a lot of the inspirations, as I said, came from Jamaica because I was a teacher in Jamaica. So some of the experiences that I've had was from Jamaica, and then I came and I've been teaching in London, and I've seen similar experiences. So it's almost universal. It's the same problems that we have to look on how to deal with the issues and how to solve these issues.
Again, apologies for getting the location wrong, but what I like is the fact that you've realised that from your travels from Jamaica to the UK, there is a universal problem that needs addressing.
Yes,
and
yes.
It's something where we're not alone in
Yes.
whatever the situation is. And
Yes.
there are solutions and something to relate to. If anything else, you can relate to it, and it allows you to take that next step to get the help that one requires.
Exactly, and that is exactly what A Boy's Cry is about. It's about sort of helping those who feel as if they're alone, who feel as if there's no other way out, and who need to understand that actually, you know, whether it be the economic situation, whether it be the social issues that we have around us, there are ways of dealing with it, and actually understanding that you're not alone is one of the ways, and also making sure that problem is not repeated, or that mistake isn't repeated. And that's the sole purpose of my book, so that others can actually have an open mind of what's going on and not to repeat those mistakes. So you have, of course, lots of, you know, young boys, men who just wildly go around and maybe do whatever, and as a result of that you have, of course, unwanted children, and you have lots of other problems that comes with this. It opens the floor for gangs and all sorts of other issues. So it's about dealing with this and understanding that, of course, these problems do exist, and we need to, you know, hold the cow by its horn and deal with the problem.
Indeed we do. And So I love to see people making that step to make a better world. I've always said one investment I always like to make is in the younger generation.
Yes.
And to see someone else do it is fantastic.
Yes.
So I'm really touched.
One of the questions some people have asked me is, why not about girls? And I said, actually, there is another author, a lady who I've been helping to write, and she's gonna actually write A Girl's Cry. So I'm leaving it to her, and she's looking on that aspect, because it's not just the boys who are affected, it's also the girls. And so once we can actually understand this and deal with whatever the problems are, then we're going forward.
Indeed. And one thing I think I would like to add in that is, I appreciate the fact that you're actually talking to another author and a lady. One, it's good to see the collaboration.
Yes.
But two, I think perspective.
Yes.
You can write from a young man's perspective, whereas she can write from a young lady's perspective.
Yes.
And I think that is very key in the relation and the building of
Definitely.
what these books are really about. And I again, it's keeping it genuine. It's not
Exactly.
writing just to write.
No,
We're seeing it from a true perspective that you understand.
Exactly. And one of the things I probably didn't say about the book is that A Boy's Cry is looking on this particular character, Anthony, who has been abused by his mother. And he was abused by his mother because the mother did not have the father around. The father was gone. And when she saw Anthony, she saw the father, so she took it out on him. And subsequently, of course, he had to go through a lot of different problems and issues that he couldn't understand. And then there were some of his other friends who were being affected as well. And so he actually tried to help them. And in the end, he was like a hero, because he was able to let them understand that, listen, together we can solve this and we can work together. And what is most important is forgiving as well. Because if you hold it to yourselves all the time, it eats you away. So it's about forgiving, and if possible, I know this is going to be even more difficult, forgetting as well.
They do say you can forgive, but it's harder
to forget. Yes, it's harder to forget, and that is really the issue. And I want these books to be sold, because one of the things I'm trying to do is to organize events, because some of the funding will go to events that I'm going to put forward to help communities to understand that this is a wide issue. And there are lots of young men, lots of young women who are actually quiet, silent, but they are suffering, and they do not have anyone to talk to, and they do not know how to get out of this. And there are other implications that follows, whether it be financial, whether it be social, all sorts, and it's about dealing with this. So this, for me, is like a start, and I want it to continue.
Fantastic. What a fantastic way to start. And it's building that investment. I really do appreciate that. So we're talking about A Boy's Cry. I just want to highlight this even more so people really understand the background of your writing.
Yes.
The next one, The Missing Fathers. Would you like to tell us about that one?
Now, The Missing Fathers was basically a continuation from A Boy's Cry. And the thing about The Missing Fathers is that it looked on real life situations, particularly when I was in New York for some time, and I actually understood and knew of someone who was going through certain situations. And the father can be there, but he's not necessarily there, So it looked on different aspects or different examples of people who have suffered as a result of the father not being there. So it continued with, of course, Anthony's father returning, and Anthony himself wanting to know how to deal with this, because he wasn't so sure if he should accept his father, who actually returned at a time when he was about 18. So he's starting to think, oh, this is premeditated. You have come when you don't need to. When I'm a man, when you don't need to have any particular responsibility for me, So what's the plan? So he actually turned his father away, and then you had, of course, other situations of how fathers who were there but not there. And it's a very deep book. And as a result of that, if you're going to read The Missing Fathers, I would say you got to have a bit more guts, because it looks on some very, very sad, troubling information, which you wouldn't get in A Boy's Cry, because A Boy's Cry made it a bit more simplistic and look on issues that are not particularly, stomach turning. the missing fathers look on issues that are really deep and stomach turning, that you definitely would have to be a bit strong to take it in. Yeah.
But again, it's one of those things. If you are lost,
Yes.
and it's something they might find, something they can relate to.
Yes,
So
definitely.
as much as it might be harder to, you're now facing something you could be living through.
Exactly, and that is the whole idea of it. And I've had where a student actually, because I taught at a special needs school, where children, some of them it's mainly behavioral issues, and one student who actually was in a one of those rooms, isolated rooms, and he saw the book, took the book, and he read the book. And I remember that day to this day, he came to the room when it was raining. The book was a bit wet, and he said, "Thank you, sir. Thank you. This really," and this was a really troubled boy. But whatever he read, it certainly transcended to him, and it resonated well with him. So it was something that made a difference to him. And if it's even one person that it has made a difference to, I'm happy.
This is what I was going to ask you. I mean, again, if it catches millions, it's great. But the fact
Exactly.
that you changed one life is a very touching feeling.
It is, yes.
What was, taking that situation of such a, troubled youth, and the
Yes.
fact that he came to find you specifically and say thank
Yes.
you. What was that feeling like for yourself?
Oh, as I said, this happened like 5 years ago, and to this day, it is raw as raw can be. It still makes me feel good to know that this young man who was troubled because his father was there, but his father wasn't there, He saw his father as someone who was abusive and all sorts. But when he read the book, he realized that actually I'm not alone. And actually, maybe I can deal with it, and I can actually understand that this is the reality of life, and I can move on with my life, because it won't be the same for everyone, and everyone is different. He was very, very grateful. So I know that somehow, somewhere, at some point in time, he will start to look on life in a more positive way, and perhaps even, be a better person, which is the whole idea.
Indeed. And then, last but not least, forces of changing traditions.
Yes, now Forces of Changing Tradition is a totally different genre. It's just about conspiracy theory. As the title itself says, Forces of Changing Traditions. And there are lots of people who are actually thinking along the line today as it relates to Forces of Changing Traditions. As I said before, I'm a teacher. I taught in many schools, different schools. But there was one particular school where I taught at, and majority of the students were blacks. And the things that they went through, the things that I observed, this is, by the way, my first teaching job in the UK. And the things that I saw, I was really troubled, really, really troubled. And for me, from what I saw, these children were being marginalized. And I hope it wasn't because they're race, but I actually had to think along that line. Now, as I looked into the whole situation, I realized that, some of these children, it affects them in later life. And I had to wonder if all this is being manipulated, if all this is being actually done in a way to actually create a certain society. And when I look and I see the evidence of, youngsters stabbing each other in London, I can't help to think, but nowhere differently, that this is possibly being, influenced in some way, shape, or form. But the book in itself look on how different forces around us are affecting us in many different ways. And ultimately, the aim is to create a new world order. And so we have different forces, unseen forces that we can't see. And their aim is to cause total mayhem. And it doesn't matter about the race, it doesn't matter about the religion, it doesn't matter about, of course, even your financial state. It's about, of course, getting anyone, as long as, of course, they can use all of these different elements. They don't care what your status is, but they will use these things: religion, race, and of course the financial side of it, to get you in a certain stage. And eventually the book shows how this boy tried to stop it. Because technology is very much at the heart of these spiritual forces. So he tries to stop it. And the character is more or less schizophrenic. But he tried to stop it in his mind, and he tried to stop it with the satellite, of course, because the satellite runs the computers, run the phones, and so on. And he was traced, and he was eventually taken, you know. But he fought a good fight to stop this. But the whole idea is that, you know, we have to really look out for ourselves and eventually, individually, look out for ourselves, because the ultimate aim is to create a new world order and to have a chip in our bodies. And that is where the book is really going.
I hear you. So that is really interesting. What I want to touch on now, very briefly, because time is catching with us. You mentioned that these 3 books, fantastic books that I would encourage everyone to go for, are to help for an event. So in terms of building that, can you just give away your website details and just a final message that you would like to give to the viewers? How they can support the cause that you would like to go
Yes. So the website is www.abeckford.co.uk. That's www.abeckford.co.uk. And if you buy it through this website, you are making it better for me, because I'm able to actually get more funds. Or if you even get the ebook from Amazon, that's fine. The hard copy is basically also easily accessible, but I get less from it. So that is why I'm pushing for my website and, of course, also ebook Amazon.
Indeed. Well, sir, I appreciate the difficulties it is behind publishing a book. So I congratulate you on having these out. And I love the vision that you're trying to build and putting the events on to make it go further. So I'd like to take this chance to officially shake your hand and congratulate you on the work and wish you the very best of luck for the future.
Thank you very much.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, and wishing you the best of luck. Please support these books. It's all towards a great cause by Mr. Andrew Beckford. They're all out there. Forces of Tradition, The Missing Fathers, and A Boy's Cry. I do support these. It's a great cause. Anthony Jordan, Andrew Beckford, signing out.